Welcome back to Season 4. I'm Robert Namoski, proprietor of Ultimate Jiu-Jitsu and the Coaching College.
And I'm Chris Kaladikis from Maximum Education. And Rob, we are back today in our season of well-being. And today we're going to be talking about rapport in schools. But before we get into that, guys, I was recommended this by one of my students.
Yes.
Apparently you can do the like, sharing and subscribing earlier on in the video.
Oh, really? Is that what they said?
That's what they said. One of my best students in my enterprise computing class, he said it. So I'm going to give it a crack today. If you like what we're doing and you want to support us, please like, share, subscribe.
We'll be very appreciated.
So we'll throw it out there. So thank you very much for that. And we'll see how that affects our data. But we are in health and wellbeing season. And what we're going to talk about today, and you may think the shirt I'm wearing is very random, my Super Mario.
Oh, nice.
Yes, it's got my Mario on. And the reason being...
Be the best version of yourself.
That's
nice.
right, 100%, okay? Because in today's episode, we're going to be talking about rapport and how important it is rapport in school. And rapport, I find, is like almost your opening to mental health and things like that. You know, it gets conversations going and helps create a safe environment. So I think it's the bread and butter of both of our teaching, isn't it, Rob?
It's the bread and butter of humanity.
Yeah.
I mean, like we've said before, humans, we love to interact.
Yeah.
Some people say, oh, no, I'm alone. But you've still got human interaction. And what makes quality human interaction is rapport. Now, we're not just talking rapport just with students, with fellow teachers as well, fellow co-workers, even, the cleaner as well.
Yeah.
Putting a smile on his face.
Yeah, and we even mentioned it in our intro video to this season, the importance of having social health. And us, especially in the actual classroom environment, we take a bit of that responsibility there because we classroom manage and obviously support everyone in there. But if I can even just speak from my own experiences with teachers, one of the nicest things Year 12s have said to me is that I'm approachable. And that means a lot to me, especially in the realm of well-being, because a lot does happen in high schools. People are lost. They're going through tough things in life. But to know that you're a person there that can be approached and bring needs to, and even if it's just they let you know and you refer to somewhere else, okay, you're a support for them. So rapport is so important. And then, as you just said too, where rapport is important for our peers. We're humans as well, and we've got all our life struggles right now.
Well, we started this podcast with good rapport in the playground.
100%.
Yes. So it ended up with what we have here. But then, how do we build rapport? In your experience, for example, especially with students, does it take time, or do certain personality of students gel well with certain personality of teachers?
Oh, yeah, look, you already alluded to very important things there. It does and can take time pending the student and the scenario too. And also certain students and teachers are going to gel better than others, 100%. But coming back to my Mario t-shirt, this is going to be the whole crux of the episode now. But I'm a computers teacher, and I find my way of connecting with students in very much so is through my own history with what got me motivated in technology, which was gaming. It all started with gaming for me. And that is a connection point still with students today. Like all week, I've been talking about the Switch 2 and its price and the games coming out, and that builds rapport.
Could you explain to the layman like myself, what is the Switch 2?
What is the Switch 2? Oh my gosh. There's a company called Nintendo. Yeah. And Nintendo make gaming consoles.
Okay.
And Nintendo currently have out their console, the Nintendo Switch.
So it's a Nintendo. Then he went to Switch.
Yeah, and it's
what happened to Atari?
Well, Atari was a big part of the video game depression that occurred in the 1980s.
Leave me alone. Hey, don't mess with Pac-Man.
Okay, we'll have a whole lesson on video game history. Okay, that's very educational there. But essentially, it's a gaming console, and Nintendo just announced it last week, and it's an exuberant price. And then with all the tariff talk in the world, it sounds like it could even be higher in price. So it's been a big talking point, but it always brings me back to interaction with gaming technology. That's what was my first understanding of computing technology, and kind of led to my own pathway. And it's funny because then in class, that's what I used to build connections. But then we can always go back to what games are interesting. And
also the games they play, you've played.
Yeah, that's it. They're playing newer versions and they're playing what stuff that I haven't. But I can always go back to that. And it's funny because then they'll also say, my dad played that game too. So it's obviously conversations that happen at home. That's my hook. But then there are students out there that are into soccer and NRL, and that's not my strength area. But there's other teachers in the school that connect with them and often are their coaches. And then you go through multiple areas of connection with students.
I like more of a personal connection and just talking to them. So if I can just start a conversation, get them comfortable with me. And when you talk to a student, make sure you listen.
Yeah,
You
definitely.
have to, and students, people know if you're not listening. So if anyone's talking to you, I sometimes turn their head away. I listen a little better, and I really try and not just hear what they're saying, get a feel of what they're trying to tell me.
Yeah.
And then I try and build that rapport with them, because in the classroom your lesson is set. There's a certain amount of material you need to get through. You're aiming, say, for example, finishing the content, getting them ready for an exam, etc., etc. But then you get little bits of cracks that happen with students as you're presenting that, and then that opens the door for a conversation.
Yeah.
So I remember I had one particular student. I know he's having a hard time. He's quite young, and he just stopped answering his questions in his maths test and just left the rest of it blank. And I went and spoke to him, and I went, look, I'm really proud of you. Those 2 pages were phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Like when I mark the exam, I don't particularly see who the student is. I open the page, and whatever is there, we tick, put the mark at the bottom, and then the rest of it went blank. And I sat down, had a chat to him about it. And I think due to the stress that he was having outside of his life, he stopped the exam short. And then I opened the exam in front of him. We had a nice chat about it. I showed him what I was very happy with, and explained to him that the work he's been doing this term has led to him being able to answer these 2 pages.
Yeah.
And then in future, that we'll look at just doing the whole test paper.
Yeah.
And it went from tears to this kid's shoulders lifting up, getting that sense of pride. And then off he goes into the rest of the world. So that was a big win for me this term.
Yeah.
I'd say now, even if, for example, not much goes on in the classroom, say he comes in, does his works, leaves, because there are other kids there, God willing, I'll have him again in year 8 and year 9. You've opened that door for that rapport.
You've established that relationship. And I like a few things you highlight in that story too, because firstly, because you knew that kid, you could tell something was wrong, okay, just by looking at his exam. And then that enabled you just to scratch a bit beneath the surface, okay, by sitting him down with you. You were able to talk and then pick up, okay, something's not right at home. And you gave him a voice, okay? And sometimes, especially in the teenage area, and obviously we're all parents and we all love our kids, but that is sometimes the time they're at their most clashing with their parents too. And so having a mentor outside your family or someone you can have faith in talking to can be of a great support. And obviously that's led to some success, hasn't it?
Yeah, it's that's why teaching is the best job.
Yeah.
You ask any teacher, everyone's got a story like this, and even better.
Yeah. It solves a lot of your problems, and just it is very community building, and you can tell with students too if there's a rapport established within classes. And look, as I said, what that looks like in every class will be very different. Okay, my class is kind of a bit more chatty. All right, and we do have a lot of dialogue in that. But then there are some classes that the students are dead quiet and they won't say anything in that class. And that's not a bad thing. That's still, the teacher has a rapport with those students. They've said their expectations in the class, but that student knows if they do have a problem, they can still approach. So what it can look like is very different. But you have to be approachable, in so many contexts there, within the classroom, that if a student is going through a tough time, it's the battle you win at the beginning. If you want a student to do well academically, they've got to be supported at a well-being level.
That's the foundation to teaching.
Yeah.
You just literally laid the groundwork there. Yeah. Exactly what you said. So as teachers, problem is you don't always win. Yeah, there are situations where you just can't get through to the kid.
No, you're a product of the system, and don't give up. I will say don't give up, but there could be and if I reflect even on myself at high school, sometimes there is just a clash with teacher and you can't do it. That is absolutely normal. But I find in the long game, almost when they get to year 12, maybe a bit of nostalgia is already starting to click in. They may turn around and remember that you were trying to help them at some point.
Yeah. Depends. Like I said before, from just observing teachers, kids do tend towards a teacher's character.
Yeah, well, that's it.
And their characters are similar.
Yeah.
So off they come to that teacher.
Yeah.
I remember a male English teacher at the school. He's quite articulate. He's quite expressive.
Yeah.
And the kids that were actually approaching him in the playground were the more articulate and expressive ones.
Yeah, of course.
Whereas they'd never approach me in the playground, those kids.
Everyone loves you, Rob. Yeah.
And me and him would do duty together.
Yeah.
So he'd have his kids approaching him. I'd have my kids approaching me. And they're completely different kids.
Who are your kids, Rob?
What?
Who are your kids?
I do well with the troublesome ones. and I hope I offered them, you're mucking around. Let's just cut that out. And if you do cut that out, I may give you something of value.
Yeah.
And obviously, due to my physical structure and my mannerisms, from boys especially, they look up to. They look up to men of that, certain masculinity, certain, I don't know, whatever they call them. Some funny names they use on social media now.
There's many.
I was doing a maths thing, and I started doing Sigma notation.
Yeah, Sigma male.
And everyone started laughing.
Yeah.
I didn't know what it was. And I go, what are you guys talking about?
Isn't it like you're a lone wolf or something?
I don't know what it is. I have to look it up. I'm sorry. I'm totally confused by this.
I think if you're a Sigma, it's like you don't care about impressing anyone. Like you're proud of your own accomplishments and your achievements. And it's like a contrast to an alpha male who needs to be like above all the other males.
Yeah,
Sigma doesn't kill.
They kind of explained it, but I still don't get it. Being now on social media, I should learn these things.
Yeah, that's it. Hey, man, we're gonna be up with it.
And things like, have you listened to Andrew Tate?
Yeah.
and I went, okay, who is this guy? Okay, kickboxer. He's got a cigar in his mouth. Sits in a swimming pool and is rich. You do not get rich sitting in a swimming pool with a cigar in your mouth.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's done other businesses that have put him there. And congratulations, good on him.
Yeah.
Love to have you on the podcast, Mr. Andrew Tate.
That could be a controversial one, Rob.
Could it?
Might be convicted in a few countries. I don't know. Things,
I'd have a debate with him, no problem.
Yeah.
But this is the thing where kids are influenced by. So there could be stuff on social media that, to their credit, opened the door to that. But then we as teachers show them the reality of, for example, what it is to be a man, what it is to be someone who can be, physically muscular, trained, etc., but still be kind and caring.
Yeah.
And this is where the kids need to see that. It's not all social media clicks and likes. Yeah,
that's actually good that you pointed that out at the end. It's true because we are a role model there. And we've mentioned it before in previous videos that they're getting a lot of social media influence. And then, these people online that they are seeing as a source of information and are connecting with them. And that can be the challenge then if we don't have good rapport with these young people and they're clashing with their parents, well, they are going to look to other sources of information for guidance. But while some things they say are good, some things they could say could not be good and not good for a young person to hear.
But that's us as teachers to show them.
Yeah,
great.
Now, you said that.
Now, look, we are the teachers. We teach them.
Yeah.
So when it comes to, say, social media influencers, we show them what they're showing is positive. Educate them to this could be a clickbait because that person does need to earn an income.
Yeah, 100%.
So maybe when
life they see is not always what it is. The life they see
is not what you see. Congratulations, whoever has got good success on social media. They've done something right to get that success, but that doesn't mean what they're telling you is the Bible, the be all and end all.
Yeah.
Same thing with seeing someone with a chiseled body and giving you a nutrition program. Yeah. I'm sure what they're doing is right, being healthy, but you wouldn't follow that nutritional program. So this is us as teachers, and through that social media content, you build that rapport. Yeah. And then they look at you as someone real.
Yeah, well, that's it, because you know who they're talking about. You're having that dialogue with them. I'm getting a sudden urge to do an episode in a pool with cigars. Can we do this, Kate? I don't know. Just wondering if that's possible at some point.
Once we hit 2 million likes,
we'll get there.
we'll get the cigars
We'll get
out.
there following.
Hey, we'll pump you up a bit more.
That's all right. I'm getting better. Now that I know all my nutrition.
Nah, that's all fake.
But what you were saying too, actually, I want to jump back to when you said that the students you connect to can sometimes be those a bit cheekier students. Because it's funny, I was talking about the topic of this episode today at work, and one of the staff members, and I will shout out to him because he did give me some good ideas for this episode. It was Dimitri. You remember Dimitri from school?
I've known Dimitri a very long time.
Yeah, he's an amazing teacher, and while I was one of the reasons I was talking to him about it, he's an amazing example of rapport. He has like classes of students who probably aren't as engaged in school because like certain subjects cater to those students going for ATAR and non-ATAR subjects, but he just does wonders with these students, telling them real stories about life, what you're going to be heading into after high school, and really give them the truth. And you walk past his class sometimes and it's almost like traditional class, students at desks sitting around. No, it's almost like there's a circle around. The students are gathered and eager to hear his opinion and and what he's went through. And so just this fantastic example of rapport and great role model there for the students too. It's really nice to see. And thank you very much for your input in today's episode, Dimitri. So that's it.
Definitely.
It's just amazing.
And knowing him, I've known him since a young boy. He's genuine.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, whatever he says is absolutely genuine. There's nowhere he'd be lying just to come across good to the kids.
Yeah, he's got nothing to win there. And what you've just highlighted there is now that's a foundation of rapport. It's got to be genuine. Okay. I can talk to kids about computer games. I can't talk to them about martial arts. And then Rob's the opposite. Although his nickname's Laptop, you can't talk to him about computer games. He can talk to him about martial arts areas and self-defense. So we've got to almost use our genuine characteristics. And then, like I said, the English teacher in the yard is great articulation. We don't speak that language. We're more Neanderthalic, I believe they say.
That's why we get along so well. Yeah, but this is what makes you a teacher. If you can't get the rapport, are they really learning from you?
Yeah.
Like if you're up there blasting information up on the board, and this could be a problem with maths. You could know your maths. You could be really great at solving these problems.
Yeah.
But no one particularly learns from you.
Yeah.
And that could be, detrimental to your teaching. And people like this usually don't last.
No.
You gotta be very careful. You have to have that human nature down pat before you even begin teaching, I think.
Yeah. And it's a seesaw too. Like we said, we do have these conversations with the students. We're developing rapport with students. But then work has to happen too. And that's sometimes where a teacher has to find that balance. We can't sometimes get so off track that it's affecting our lesson quality and education too. And that can sometimes be where we've got to gauge.
Work happens first.
Yeah.
From what I've seen in my experiences as a teacher, your work, the work you put up, and their learning from you is the fundamental thing that opens it up for you to have that conversation and build a rapport.
Yeah. And if you do get that down, like you've just said, and a student's in your class and you do have the rapport, if they are chatting at the back of the room and you're trying to teach, all you got to do is look at them and let them know that you're trying to teach, and they'll respond because they feel bad because you have developed that relationship of rapport.
But you have to respond. And you have to follow through. You'll lose the rapport.
Oh, yeah,
you have to. There's sometimes I've seen the situation when teachers get too friendly, too mate, then you're no longer the teacher.
Yeah.
And this can be a problem. My class is a little bit different. It's more quiet. Everyone sits.
Yeah.
I present on the board. I show them the examples, the theory of the work that we're doing in maths. Then they all get to practice. As they're practicing, I look for cracks that are happening, quiet conversations with the student, putting the examples back up on the board, and I let the conversation flow. But if a student is disruptive, I do come down on them harsh.
Yeah.
Like it's almost can get a little overwhelming for them because I've put so much effort into this lesson and you're disrupting me, you're disrupting everyone else, and then things get serious. But what the student realizes when they walk into the classroom the next day, it's a fresh start.
Yeah.
I don't give them any attitude. How you been? I ask them something about their day. And you can almost see sometimes they get a little bit taken back by it. This scary looking teacher hates me.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, not particularly, did you get the work done for me?
Yeah.
Et cetera, et cetera. And then I can build a rapport with them.
Yeah.
But they know and realize there's a certain line you cannot cross. You cannot cross. Doesn't matter how good our rapport is. Doesn't matter how friendly you think we are. You know, if you disrupt the class, you cross that line, there are consequences.
Yeah.
And then when you do come back from those consequences, you get a fresh start.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's an excellent point there, Rob. Like, yes, we do want to win them over. We do want to be friends with our students, but there has to be established lines, consistent consequences in place. And oddly enough, it is respected. Obviously, in your first few lessons, students might test and might not fully understand. Like you said, that student was surprised at first because they probably haven't seen it then, but they get it now. They know where the line is. You know, so treats me with respect. He teaches me in class. You set up excellent lessons. I cannot do this, this, and this because then that interrupts the lesson. That's the line. Because I cross the line, does it mean sir doesn't like me more? No. Again, you still care about them. You're still going, and then it's business as usual.
But I'm waiting for them to cross that line.
Yeah.
It happens. I had a very, very young class, year 7 group, where this kid was oblivious to what I was asking him, asked him to move to the front.
You've had a few challenges with your 7 classes, haven't you?
This was good. He sat there, ignored me, asked him a second time, can you move here? Didn't write him up on anything. Third time, I didn't ask him nicely.
Yeah.
I really, really made it tense with him, where the room just went dead silent. And it was me just in a very calm voice explaining to him how he's disrespected me. How many times do I need to ask you?
Yeah.
How many times? You tell me how many times I need to ask you before you cooperate.
Yeah.
What are we doing here? The kid actually broke down.
Yeah.
He still had to move to the front. He sat down. Okay. The next day, out in the playground, I walk past. You feel his body tense. I go, where's my high five?
Yeah.
He hit me with a high five, and then you feel him just relax.
Yeah.
And then
diffused it.
And then it was a girl in class. I asked her to move. Okay, can you move to the front for me?
She was already there, I'm guessing.
No. And he went, you better move now. So the kids know, it's fun, it's jokes.
Yeah.
But when things get serious, okay, I'm the teacher.
Yeah.
And it's my responsibility to make sure that all of you learn. But there can be situations where, especially for young teachers, call someone in, remove them out of the classroom.
Yeah. And that has to happen. The hierarchy needs to support young teachers in their development. I was going to just quickly say too, with that story you just told too, that's actually excellent classroom behavior too, because for your mannerism and tone to have so much impact, it means you don't use it much, which is the way it should be. That, you've got to conserve your tools. I'm going off on a tangent of classroom behavior.
What you're saying worked for me because it's usually fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun environment.
Yeah.
We learn, we put the notes up. They don't particularly talk. I allow them a little bit, but you completely disobeyed something I specifically asked you to do.
Yeah.
And now, especially to the young teachers, if I let that slide because the student wasn't cooperating, that's the hole in the dam where the avalanche just topples you. And you don't even realize.
Yeah.
You cannot let that slide.
No, but you accomplished so much just by doing a little. Like I said, it was just a bit of tone. You didn't go off your rocker or anything like that. It was just the tone changed, call it forward. And, that's the thing. That's actually really good advice to the new teachers.
Going off your rocker, I believe there's a response to that if there's something very dangerous.
Yeah.
If there's something very dangerous
and
happening,
you've got to project and you got to
something you need to stop immediately. Yeah, you have to go off your rocker. I had a situation as a casual where the class was dead silent. I didn't realize they had an altercation in the playground, and one kid pegs deodorant, hits another kid in the head.
Oh no!
This was at our school. The other kid goes jumping over the desks with flying punches.
Really?
And I just went, wow, how did that escalate from a quiet class into a full-on brawl?
Oh, and that's some of those backstories. And obviously that actually comes back to rapport too, because sometimes before, if you've got the established rapport, was this a class that you commonly had?
No, I was a casual.
Yeah, so you didn't...
No. I was a casual. Yeah. Now, obviously something had happened in the playground.
Yeah.
And the kid that launched at the kid that threw the
deodorant can.
wasn't the kid that threw it.
Yeah.
There were 3 kids at the back. This kid launched themselves. I sat the 2 that were rumbling, sat them in the corner, gave them a traditional timeout until the teacher came in, the teacher of well-being, like yourself, Nathan. And he knew exactly what went on.
Yeah.
You know, the well-being teacher that's in charge of that year group knows.
Yeah.
So as a casual teacher, situation was the students were removed. I didn't physically touch them. That's when you need that good, serious, okay, I'm really, really upset now with what's going on. So then you position them in the corners. They sat. That teacher came in, took care of it. I did the incident report, whatever he asked me to do to follow it up.
Yeah.
And then he took care of it.
Yeah.
But the advice to a beginning teacher is, first thing when you walk into teaching, have everything ready. What would happen if I can't control a kid? You don't know their situation. They could be on some medication that they haven't taken. Which teacher do I call in? You know, and then you pass it on to someone like yourself.
Yeah.
So what situations have you dealt with? I'm sure you've been called into classrooms. How do you handle that?
Well, it's actually very dynamic when you're a leader of wellbeing, because there's a lot to it going on. And if you actually ask probably the staff in a school what they'd want of a leader of wellbeing, it's already to be very stern, very strict, consistent, and that, you know, that the students won't cross anyone in the school because they know the wellbeing coordinator will come out and ton of bricks. Unfortunately, it can't be that way. We really do have to be, as said before, someone that's approachable and a voice of reason that can be listened to. And like, you know, I've got a new year group this year, and I'm working on that right now. There's 180 new students in my year group, and I've got to build that relationship with them so that if something does happen, or even better yet, and this even goes back to the example we just used then, let's say you weren't the casual teacher in that class, but you were the existing teacher in that class. You probably would have found out something before it happened. And that's what I have to be for a whole year group. You know, in the playground all the time, talking to all the students, getting to know them so that I can kind of figure out what's going on and hopefully be preventative from bigger issues happening. And this can be a lot of things. A preventative issue could be stopping a fight before it happens. There's beef happening between the students. Some of the friends tell me, or just one of the students that's feeling that tension tells me. It could be as well, something's happened in the school and we need to know something. A student comes and tells you, you know, so you can kind of follow up and start following up on the data related to that. Or blessed are these students, the students that pick up that their friends are having a well-being issue or a mental health issue, and they come to you and they're like, look, something's happening. Can you check in with them? And it starts an opening for a conversation. And you say to that student, look, you know, your friends are a bit concerned. Is there anything I need to know? Sometimes it mightn't be much, but you know what? As a wellbeing coordinator, probably about 50% of the time, it does start a mental health conversation. And it's a twofold win in that case, because firstly, me approaching him shows the school cares about you and allows them to talk. But it means the world to those students that their friends cared enough to go to a teacher and say, can you check in on my friend and all that? And they've probably been trying to do it from their own angle too, but a student shouldn't take that responsibility on their own. So it lets that person who might be going through a tough time, you know, really feel supported by their peers and by a school. So, you know, it's just, you're on the street as a wellbeing coordinator. I'm in the yard all the time. There's students in hallways. I'm trying to learn them. And look, it does take a certain type of person to be a wellbeing coordinator, because going back to what you highlighted, it's got to be genuine. You've got to want to know these kids. You got to want to know them. You got to want to know what's going on in their lives, and you want them to know that you want them to be at the school. You want them to be safe, and we've said this many times in the podcast before too. They're going to stuff up. You're going to punish them, but we get on with our lives. It gets forgotten. You're young. You're a teenager. We're 40 and 50, and we stuff up all the time.
Exactly. We're human. You know,
we're human,
and the kids get to see that in us as well.
Yeah,
you know?
But the Rapport's that foundation.
No, it's very well put, because as a classroom teacher, you know, this is very important. It makes the classroom so much easier, and and when you're aware of it, you know to what limit as a teacher you've got to when you do call the coordinator in. Yeah. Sometimes calling the coordinator in for every little bit an incident, you know,
it takes away your authority. You're no longer an authoritarian. If you're always relying on another staff member to do your consequences, the kids aren't going to see you as an authority figure. So you do have to decide when that point is, and you've got to use the hierarchy in place first. And like, so the school I work at, you're signing the diary, you're making entries on Compass. You might contact the parents first with communication. If you feel like the diary's not working, you let the coordinator know and in the conversation, but still try to handle it yourself with lunch cleanups. And then once you've got that paper trail, now it's time for me to come in. All right, we've got an ongoing issue here. The student's not respecting you. You've tried, then come in. But you don't need to get to that point. If there's anything I can encourage of young teachers or really any teacher, hold off as long as you can. But in saying that, teachers who are young and in their first few years of teaching, they do need support. So don't be sorry about asking for help too. And it is extremely challenging walking into a new school. Obviously, we're a lot more older and mature, and age does give us a bit more respect when we enter a room. But if you are a young person, there are just some general challenges to starting a career in teaching. Like, I started a career in teaching where I was 5 years removed from the year 12s, and I worked with someone at Big W. Like, it's just, and that's it. And that's going to make it hard for you to develop a professional rapport. And the kids, they want to know you. So they're going to ask you all these questions and go off tangents. And your age will be a challenge there. But you can, present professional boundaries.
That's, as a teacher, you'd be the best mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, you've got a year, what year group do you have?
Year 9 this year.
You've got a year 9 class for maths. Okay. You should be the first point of contact with that year 9 class. I'd be like, okay, what am I in for?
Yeah.
What do I need to watch out for?
Yeah.
Give me an idea. So as a teacher, with all your year groups, have at least once a month a conversation with the coordinator. Just to get a debrief, just to get a bit of feedback on what's going on.
Yeah.
And to my credit, that worked really well for me when I had a year 9 home group. We had a phenomenal coordinator, Sonia. And I was constantly liaising with her back and front. She said, "Oh, do you mind? I've put some of the more lively kids in your homeroom." I go, "My specialty.
This I was made for.
This I was made for. Take a seat." And it was a fun home group.
Yeah,
I have to admit, I do miss them. Walking in there, seeing them smile. Okay, gentlemen, sit. Let's start. Okay, let's do the roll. They were drawing something inappropriate on the board, and I said something comical that made them embarrassed, and they all sat down. Just a note with boys, sometimes discipline doesn't work. Embarrassing them absolutely puts them in
their spot.
Oh, puts them in their spot. Even something simple. For example, one kid, I'm talking to him, he's grinning and laughing back. I go, "Easy, Smiley, sit down." And when his mates turned around, "Hey, Smiley." And I've probably done it to about 20 kids.
Yeah.
And every single time it's worked perfectly.
Yeah.
Because especially with boys, you can discipline them to a point, but then with their social interactions with the other boys, just a slight humiliation does a wonderful job.
Might be the right kid with a bit of resilience.
If they're cheeky, they're the right kid.
Yeah, that's right. They're the ones that work with.
They're the right kid. The quiet kid is a different approach.
Yeah.
The quiet kid is usually sit down at eye level.
Yeah.
Don't stand down on them.
No.
So usually I like to roll the chair in, have a chat. Hey, how's your work going?
Yeah.
Especially in your homeroom. Homeroom's the time where I think the homeroom teacher is that middle point between the kids and the coordinator.
Yeah. And actually, I'm really glad you actually brought up homeroom, because if I talk about my wellbeing roots, okay, homeroom was a foundation of all that. Just because it is, 15 to 20 minutes in the morning where you are just getting to know this class of, 25 to 30 students in some cases, but checking in on them. You're the first person to see them in the day. You're seeing how they arrive at school. You're already getting a sense for a bit of well-being. What's making them late? Do they look hungry this morning? Do they look tired this morning? And you're just having genuine conversations. And it's funny because I've actually I've always had very stellar homeroom teams, but I can already see a few people on my team and like, wow, they'd be great in the well-being realm. Just because you can see just how well they handle the actual homeroom. In fact, one of my homeroom teachers is a former wellbeing coordinator, and I'm just blessed to have him on the team because he's just a gun. He knows his class so well, and there are a few cheeky ones in there, but because he starts their day so right, the rest of the day they are fine. but because, they feel cared about by him, they respect him, and he's going out of his way to get to know him. But and it's actually up for debate right now too, like the requirement for homeroom, because like roles are all digital now, and it actually came up as a debate at our school. But it was voted that, for now we still do need homeroom. And I'll say that till the end, because it is just genuine time just for these students to get to know someone in the school. And the homeroom teacher doesn't need to be authoritarian, whereas the wellbeing coordinator kind of does at some point. They can be that first caring adult they see in the morning. And it's funny how much can be diagnosed or at least flagged just by seeing students and having a relationship with them.
At the school I'm working now, St. Mary's in St. Mina's, homeroom is taken very seriously.
Yeah.
And you're the actual teacher that writes a homeroom report as well.
Yeah.
So you got to actually get to know them, keep an eye on them as they come in. We do our prayer at the beginning, mark the roll, and then you've got 20 minutes to actually let them see what their week is like. Yeah. And then once they're, open up their diaries, take a look at what they're studying, etc. Then you get the rest that slouch in, open up the computer, they're looking at something else, and then that opens up a conversation.
Yeah.
And not so much a conversation of, hey, why are you looking at that? What are you doing this week with your exams? It's more of a question, hey, how's your week been? What are you watching there? What is it, a soccer match? What's happening with the soccer match? Have you finished all your exams?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just an entry into their world.
Yeah. And you're 100% right, because you kind of see what they're doing in the homeroom too. And it also allows the homeroom teacher to kind of be in line with what's going on at the school at the moment. And sometimes the students appreciate that, this is coming up next week. Make sure you write that in your diary. Have you checked your emails yet? It's almost like, a semi-parent at school, they're helping them manage their day and, just getting organized too. But obviously most teachers have an experience in homeroom, but just understand its importance, and how important it is for you. In my career, I've done homeroom twice in 4-year blocks, following a group from 7 to 10. And so at the first school I was at for 5 years, I was with a group from 7 to 10, and then they took me off them when they got into year 11, and I was fuming. Because I got to know this year group so well, but I didn't think I was mature enough back then. And they're like, no, Chris, you can go back to year 8. And I was a bit wilder back then too. But it's funny because I developed such a rapport with that year group, and I ended up leaving that school within the year because, I felt like I wasn't valued as a result of that. But it's funny, I still came back for that group's graduation. It was great to see him finish. But then at the school I went to, my current school, I was a homeroom teacher once again from 7 to 10, and then I became a wellbeing coordinator. You've got to prioritize getting to know students, especially if you do want to be in that realm of well-being and going to kind of that year coordinator role of that, because they work magic. Really is like schools are academic institutions, but well-being is the foundation for success. If a student's not happy, doesn't feel heard, they're not going to achieve, are they, Rob?
What would be one thing in your experience that if you could stop teachers doing immediately, whether they're new or they're experienced, what would you recommend?
Well, look, it's interesting because I wouldn't say it's one thing, but it's almost like two ends of the spectrum when it comes to rapport. The first one is, and this is usually a challenge for a lot of the younger teachers, and even as I said, when I was a young teacher myself, when they come into school, and that's almost like you're too friendly, too much rapport, and sometimes the older students are purposely getting you off track, because it takes up lesson time on that. So that could be sometimes the most detrimental mistake in the realm of rapport, that the teaching and learning has to happen, and you've already made that very clear. That's got to be the crux of your class, and developing a rapport supports that. So don't get off track, don't be too friendly, because it can also lead to also discipline being hard there too, because then it's like an inconsistency. Oh, you're friendly, but now suddenly, you're not friendly and all that. So that's what I'd say to obviously the newer teachers, to be aware of the challenge. And then in relation to what it would be as well, on the other side of the spectrum is you're just too hard and too cold, that the students feel like they don't have a voice. Or I said it earlier, there's nothing wrong with having a stern and quiet classroom, okay, and that's how your teaching method, and that's fine. But how you respond to students when they ask questions, or, they come to you at a point of need, or just, sometimes they are chatting or they want to know a bit about you. Gauge it up. And look, sometimes it could be a part of your own rapport development. And I've mentioned it before in the podcast too, that some teachers have the philosophy, you don't smile till Easter. Okay, and that is true. It is a true and
smile
proven,
next week.
Yeah, that's right. We're a week out at this point of filming, but that is a true technique, and it does allow you to build yourself professionally first. But if that's just the way you are with students, it's not going to be developing a very positive classroom environment. It's not going to encourage dialogue in learning. You've got to be approachable. And look, I haven't met many teachers like that, but you can't just be like, there's a wall between me and the students, and they're children, they're young people, and they are looking up to you. By their nature, they're wanting to learn more about you. And yes, you don't want to be giving too much advice. You've got to know where the boundaries are too, and what you want these young people to know. But yeah, that would be it, either being too soft, too kind, or too open. Okay, and the other end, just having a complete wall up and don't want any relationship at all.
Yeah, shut them down completely. But as parents, so for example, you're the year coordinator.
Yeah.
Say even the homeroom teacher. So what do parents ring for the homeroom teacher? Do they talk to, and what do they talk to for the year coordinator?
Well, depending on the school structure, and if I'm going by mine, parents would never call the homeroom teacher. Okay, they would be calling me as their first point of call for a well-being
So you're the first point of contact.
For well-being.
Well-being.
If they're worried about marks or a teacher of a student of a specific class, it'd probably be better there to go to a leader of learning, the head of maths, the head of English, and discuss anything academic or learning related in that area. For me, it's purely the well-being area. How's their child feeling at school? Are they happy and sad? Now, stemming from your question, rapport also goes over to parent relationships too. And parents, you need to know this as well. And look, most of you do it because you already said it right at the beginning of this podcast, we're human beings. And you do want to have a positive rapport with, the people that are educating your children, just as the teachers want to with parents, because, and I think I mentioned this before, it's a triangle of success. The student, the teacher, and the parents, we all work together to get the best out of children. I'm obviously a leader of well-being, but, I've got to put in consequences when there's trouble. It's not a fun job, that side, putting in consequences, and we're trying to put in consistent. What I need is parents to be supportive. And if I've got a good rapport with the parents, okay, that can be a lot easier. And usually then the parents support it at home, what's happening at school. Old school style, the way we like it. You can't expect a teacher to be 100% correct. Yeah.
And then for that 0.1%, they may seem to make a mistake. You come down on them like a ton of bricks.
Yeah, 100%, because you are making, decisions in my area based on two sides of a story. And, and I'm going on with a lot of sayings today. There's the real saying is there's three sides of the story. There's one person's side, the other person's side, and the truth. Okay, and you're trying to, get all these sources together and find out what happened in scenarios and situations, and especially if there has been confrontations between students. So, we are all human and trying to work our way through it. And although that we may be calling you about your child, we know that they're a human, and I've already said that they're learning, and they're going to be making mistakes here. So we do have to have that dialogue and figure things out. And yep, if it's something naughty they've done, they've got to be consequences. But yeah, from the parents' side, you've got to decide how you interact with that, and, it's obviously parents have rapport with their children too. We have rapports with our own children at home too. And we do want to be as open as can. But if I am going to criticize one thing, and I do see parents do it, you can't be their best friend. You cannot be your child's best friend. Okay. You need to be on the disciplinary side with the school as well. As a school, we have no joy in punishing children. We never have a plan of kicking kids out. All there is we're trying to do the best for the child. And really the only time your child would be ever asked, to go to another school is really if it's deemed that the school is not the place for them. They're not happy, or there's a learning need or support that could be better supported somewhere else. But schools aren't trying to do it. And even if you just think of it from a financial standpoint, schools want bums in seats. Okay, we're never trying to get rid of kids. So, keep your cool when you do have to talk to a teacher. And if you're on the phone with someone like me as a year coordinator, the assistant principal, or, a teacher, you want to build your rapport with whoever you're talking to, because you're potentially together for 6 years, and if a teacher knows they can talk to you, you can have a conversation, you're more open to ideas, especially if there is capacity for ideas. In some cases, no. you've got to follow policy and procedure. But they will be open to listen, and teachers, of course, are going to listen because everyone wants the best they can possibly do for these young people. But if you're going to go in guns blazing and then just be, I want it this way. And one of my favorite ones from parents too. Oh, my son tells me all this stuff happens at the school, but you're getting my son in trouble. Never believe that, okay? You're not in the school, and children, as I said, they can have biased eyes sometimes, and sometimes they don't know the backstories of what's going on. So never go in with guns blazing, I want to smash the school, because sadly, it's to your child's detriment. And I'm not saying the school's going to respond negatively on your child. I'm saying it's almost you're like creating your child to be the meat in the sandwich, like they're getting in trouble from school, and then parents are overreacting in some cases at home, and it just makes it awkward from both sides for the child, and then sometimes we'll put them in a situation where, well, I don't have to do this because I know my mum and dad will fight for me no matter what I do. Like, we'll say goodbye to them at the end of year 12. You'll be dealing with them for the rest of your life. So you got to remember these things. And in school, we're trying to instill discipline, consequences, responsibility, all of that, so they are ready for the real world. So just keep that in mind. Like I said, I'm year 9 coordinator this year, I'm getting to know people and getting to know families. So it's all a restart. But as I said, last year I was year 12 coordinator. I was with those families for 3 years since those students were year 10. Phone calls were lovely by the end of year 12 because it took time to develop that rapport, not just with the children, but with the parents and the families. And, it makes the graduation a very emotional day.
Yeah, but as a parent, even if, say, something you think may be a little harsh for your child, as a parent, okay, whatever's happened, the student deals with the consequences. But as a parent, you come to the school and have an interview and express your concerns. To try and come in, and it's almost like, I'm going to topple the system. This is it. The system the system's not going to oppress my child. You will see, I will come and there'll be consequences when I get there. You are absolutely ruining your child's education. There's no other way to put it. Teachers, I can honestly say, they're human. You will be labeled that parent, and then we say we're not biased. We try not to be. But then if you're the parent that's constantly screaming down, you're constantly coming to the school, there's always an issue, and you're overly aggressive, no one particularly wants to deal with that. And I've actually seen it in the tuition center. Every now and then, not so much lately, a student walks in, parents overbearing, there's a problem with this, there's a problem with this, there's a problem with this. And there's a constant string of problems. They're speaking to me quite assertively. And I just ask them one question. And I go, how many times have you done this at the school? That's my question I ask when they come. I go, how many times have you been to the school and actually done this? And I usually most of the time, I get a very, very quiet response. Because I'm hitting the nail on the head. Like this is a situation that in a private environment in a tuition center, it'll definitely not help you immediately. But at a school, they will be more political with you. But make no ends about it. You are labeled that parent, and it maybe could be time to get your kid out of the school.
And like you've really alluded to an area too, and this has only happened a handful of times in parent conversations, but like, you're talking to me, and I said I'm the first point of call. There is a hierarchy from me. I have a head teacher of wellbeing at the school, assistant principal, and principal. And and sometimes it will come. You can't come to a conclusion. We need to escalate this, and there's nothing wrong with that either. That's fine. But in some parents, they will flat out, straight up say, "Oh, I'm going to, your head office." So Sydney Catholic Schools or the DET, and like. You've only just spoken to me as one point, and you're already threatening to go to the regulatory system, as a point of call. It's like you don't even care what the school has to say. You're more about shaming the school and punishing the school. And as soon as that's said it to me, I know that a conversation won't work.
But I have had situations in the tuition center where the school, it's rare, but it has happened. And I won't mention the school, but the principal 4 or 5 years later was removed and replaced with another principal, where they really didn't care for the kids.
But at least,
there were many situations where this student was bullied, and the family friends of ours, the mums and actual teacher herself, expressed their concerns, and they were literally told, well, maybe the school's not a good fit for her. And in this particular school, we've probably had about 15, 16 situations like this.
Yeah.
Until now, the principal's removed, a new principal is there, and then I guess the policies of the school, change. So as a parent, is it in your nature to be like this? Whereas, if you're like that at the footy club, you're constantly getting into fights and arguments. Then you're telling people off at the shopping centre, walk into Coles, and they give you stuff back because of your over-aggressive nature. Then you're applying it at the school, and you do, to a certain point, you will get things your way if you behave this way. Because people don't particularly want to deal with you. But then what consequences does that have long-term for your child for that immediate reward? And then at some point, how far do you push that? Now, don't get me wrong. I have seen situations where these are great parents, very caring, and they've described situations at schools where some things are amiss at this school. Where and it's not just one person. There's a history of students that happens to. It's very rare, but it can happen. But as a parent, you gotta again, it's your child. If the school is not a fit, you don't need to get overly aggressive.
Yeah.
You just move your child to another school. And every parent that did that in here, their children thrived later. But if you're at the third school and you're still screaming the teachers down, then there could be a problem.
Yeah. And look, you're right. I would never say there probably weren't schools that didn't have problems in their hierarchy. And like you said, you've given an example of that. And I guess I'm talking from the context of the school I work at. And
great.
That's right. It's a very good school.
I work there personally.
Yeah.
It's a different scenario, and you can't get a history of that happening.
Yeah, if anything, the data would tell you the exact opposite. Well-being is fantastic there. And with the conversations I was referring to, this is almost like it was their opening line. Like they've never even experienced anything before, it's never been an issue before. And like you've mentioned too, parents will bat for their children. Nothing wrong with that.
But have that face-to-face. Have that face-to-face. Don't blast someone over the phone.
No.
If there's a serious issue as a parent, okay, let's say you're the well-being teacher of my son. Something happened. He's giving me a completely different story. I do believe him. There's no point in blasting you on the phone.
No.
I'd ask, sir, please, I do want this situation explained to me a little clearer. Can I book and can I come in and see you?
Yeah.
And I'd go, this is the story he's giving me. Have you got it on camera?
Yeah.
Are there other kids that have witnessed it?
Yeah, that's it. And that is all a part of the data collection there too. But going right back to Rapport, it's contrast to the Rapport long game. Okay, you should be having dialogue. You say your opinion, but if the school says this is the way it is, and if you respect the school and you're happy for your child to be there, you should accept that the school is trying to be consistent. Whether you think we're being too harsh, whether you think we didn't have the full story, okay, let us know your opinion. We'll document it. Phone calls are documented on central management systems. We will document that. And then if the next time you call with an issue, okay, well, you listened that first time. We talk again, and then maybe a pattern is starting to develop now. And maybe we did miss something. And the story can grow, but you're developing that rapport with the teacher. You have a grounds, you show that you do listen. And we've mentioned listening a few times with the building rapport. You've got to show, even as a parent, you're willing to listen to the school. And look, 99% of schools want the best for your children. Obviously I can't speak for every school, but you want to work with the teachers, and you've got to have faith in the school's policies. There's a reason schools' policies exist, and you might be arguing, thinking, oh, that policy doesn't matter, that haircut policy doesn't matter, that uniform policy doesn't. Well, yeah, it does, because, that school has a reason for having that policy. They pride themselves on preparing students for beyond school, for work, and looking like a professional. There are reasons, and that's probably the reason you want to send your child to that school. So work with the school and develop a positive rapport with your teachers.
Yeah, have to. Or the school's not a fit for you.
No way. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. There's no way of sugarcoating it.
Yeah.
But then what about rapport amongst teachers?
Yeah, well, look,
that's something that's very important.
Very important, because you're in it together, aren't you? You spend a lot of the day as the only adult in the room, aren't you? You know?
Yeah, but it's nice having people in the trenches with you.
Well, that's it, exactly, you know, that's what I mean. So when you do get lunchtime and out of time, you often need to debrief, you know, and, you know, building rapport with your staff is extremely important because you're going through these days and sometimes just to know a bit about what's going on in the school, whether it's just being on top of things like that or, as we said, for young teachers, but really it applies to all teachers, classroom management strategies, you know, getting, you know, different types of teaching techniques. Like you learn from each other, you know, and, you know, we've both been very blessed at working with great people, whether they're peers or our mentors. And, you know, we both have them at both levels, even still at our ages, we still have staff members we consider mentors. And, you know, we want to stay that way right to the end of our careers, that we're always learning something new through peers who have a bit more experience than we do, or even just experience but in different areas so we can grow with our own teaching practices. Like, you find the same there, Rob?
Yeah, I'm quite a joking kind of person.
You are, yes, you are.
You know, and I do like that banter.
Yeah.
And the school where we worked together, there was a lot of that and it was fun. But I have to admit, the maths department was, you know,
it's bad central, isn't it?
I was like the mafia. You step in with the mafia, with the maths department, and you are well protected. You know, they had really a whole heap of very experienced teachers in there that, you know, any mistakes you make were not covered up, were fixed, were implemented, changed, etc. And actually, I have to admit, did teach me how to be a classroom maths teacher.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't say it taught me maths. I've had a lot of experience in that, but the ins and out of classroom, maths teaching, interacting, listening to the head teacher, you know, even though we're about the same age, she's probably a year younger, but the fact that she had that experience in and went, okay, I had a bit of tension with one of the teachers that was assisting me. And she went, nah, let it go. I think I mentioned in I watched this teacher that was very experienced. And I actually miss her in my classroom now.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I went in the other day, she ran up, gave me a hug. I go, man, we did some good work together.
Yeah.
But at the school I'm at now, at St. Mary's and St. Mina's, completely different model.
Yeah.
Where this is just everyone's in together.
Yeah.
Doesn't really feel like, oh, there's a department. We're just in.
Yeah, it's very community-based.
Yeah, very community-based. And the staff room is everyone's in it together.
Yeah.
You know, so if something's happening at the PE, yep, we're there. If something's happening with the history excursion, someone goes on, we're there. So it's a different type of school, but still the same school, same teachers.
Yeah.
Because as teachers are teachers. So what that means is you ask them for help. No one will help you more than a teacher.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially when you ask.
Yeah, and you know, and you did reference that point before about the maths department. Like, you already came from a background where you knew your academics, you knew how to teach maths.
Yeah, I had the advantage of maturity and having that high level of mathematics stepping in, but I had no idea what I was getting into stepping into a school. Yeah. That's different. There's a hierarchy, there's a structure, et cetera, et cetera. So it was a very fast learning curve for me. It was a very easy learning curve falling into such a good environment. And the skills I learned have served me really well at St. Mary's and St. Mina's.
Going in there. But it's funny because, like, obviously you've got like these 7 staff around you who said are very experienced, and it's almost like a bit of trial and error, emulating their techniques at first too. Like, this works for one teacher, but it might work for you or might not. Then the other teacher might give you advice and it may or may not work for you.
It was the maturity of just watching what they're doing.
Yeah.
And having that way, okay, this person is very, very good with the lower end maths kid.
Yeah.
What does he do?
Yeah.
And just literally watching his interactions and you learn.
Yeah.
You know, you learn how to teach.
Yeah.
Not particularly, you know, solving those maths equations. And now stepping into an independent school, you go, okay, this is a different type of learning now. Now, all of a sudden, your duty is a little bit more serious because it's all eyes on deck. When you go on excursions, okay, it's all more hands on deck.
Yeah.
And which has its benefits, I have to admit. You know, everyone gets to know everyone very fast, very quickly. Yeah. And you either fit in or you don't.
Yeah. That's it, yeah. And it's funny, because there was a bit of a change. And a lot of it is the size of the school too. Like, it's, you have to be hands on deck. Like, and when someone's not there, well, someone else has to pick up the slack, don't they?
Yeah, and there are casuals that are there, but then the advantage is the classroom sizes are smaller.
Yeah.
You know, that interaction with the kids.
Which supports rapport.
Yeah, supports rapport. You can get to know them a little better. But every school has its advantages and disadvantages. But as a teacher, you are there to learn as well.
Yeah.
So if you're not learning, even say at 51 years old, I'm very grateful that I've got a very, very experienced teacher. We had him on the podcast. Listen to the episode. Yeah. Even to this day, watching him, the way he presents, there's certain ways he does things where I would never think of doing it that way.
Yeah.
And so, you know, you open yourself up to learning as a teacher, which makes you a better communicator to be able to teach. Yeah. And I think that's what keeps us all fresh in the game.
Yeah, no, that's excellent. And I couldn't agree more, you know. And look, it's not even just for teaching. I think we've all got to have the approach that we're lifelong learners, you know, and finding those mentors in life and guiding us in direction. And, you know, what helps us develop those relationships and find them, trying to develop rapport. And if we can take anything away from this episode, it requires effort. Yeah, you've got to want to learn about people.
But that's the whole point of being a teacher.
Yeah.
You were taught once, someone inspired you to be a teacher, now you're giving it back.
Yeah.
But you still have to be learning.
Yeah, always.
Yeah, there's no way out from that. Not just teaching, pick any career.
Yeah.
You can tell when you go to your local mechanic if he's not up to date. If he's there to just service the car and then that's it. You know, whereas my mechanic is 67 years old.
Yeah.
The guy's passionate about it as if he started, you know, last week.
Yeah.
He's in tune with the latest oils and they're creating a better synthetic one for your diesel engine. I'm going to buy that one for you next time, etc. He's up to date with spark plugs and
he's staying sharp.
Oh, yeah. But that's why he is sharp. He's still able to do his job passionately, you know, well into his 60s.
Wow.
You know?
Oh, look, that's excellent. Look, do you think everyone's all report out there?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Hopefully, I've been wanting to say this whole episode. Yeah. Hopefully this episode helps us build our rapport with you, everyone.
Yes, absolutely. So please like, share, subscribe. We really appreciate all the support that everyone's been giving us, and we are very grateful to God for it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. I'm Chris Galadikis.
And I'm Robert Namoski.
Catch you later, everyone.
See ya.
We did it.
I knew we'd have it.
Easy one.
I knew. As soon as you put the topic in, I've got you on this one. I knew exactly.